Okay, I am back and we're going to start our session on rentals in the office upgrade. So we're going to go over to the inventory section. Again, if you're having trouble finding things, you can just type in inventory. There it is. So we're in the inventory section here, and we covered a lot of things on how this looks as far as some of this new format. So I'm not going to go into detail again. Check out earlier sessions. Session number 1 today or the previous day will give you that information. I will show you a few differences with the rentals area. If you do this drop down button, you can see that you can add accessories. You can add child items, consumable items. Consumable items is a new thing that is only in the office upgrade. So if you have something that you are actually selling and it gets used up, you would want to use this. By doing that, we help you track your inventory, your stock on that item. So it would be a good thing for maybe like snow cone cups or something. You can actually put in when it is you expect that item to come in stock. Maybe you've ordered some. It's going to come in on the, and you want to enter that into the system. We will track all that and let you know if you're going to have enough by the time that your events occur. So the quantity is handled very differently. There's like more of a quantity chart because you're entering quantities in and when they're received or when you're expecting them to be received, as well as and then we're tracking quantities out as they're being on reserved leads and events. So that's something new. I think we've done videos on this on our YouTube channel. That's been out for a while. So you might want to look into that. I know we've done gift card videos. If you're going to add a gift card, those are special. You have to go, the best thing to do is to go through this add gift card button. Shared items. Those are items that you want to share with other people in the inflatable office universe. So if you have an item and you have friends around that, even if they don't use our software, they may want to, contract your item out occasionally. I'm sorry, they have to use our software for shared items. So if you have friends that use our software and you want to give them a chance to use those items, what you do is create a shared item. Now you can do a lot of these things through just clicking add inventory, but it's a lot easier if you choose one of these preset buttons. The vendor item is something that you would do with someone who doesn't necessarily use our software. And so you could set up an item that you're maybe contracting from someone else. They use a different software, and you want to keep track of that item, maybe some pricing information, different things like that, and use it for a lot of your quotes and stuff that you might do. All those are listed in here. With our sharing of items, we have made it possible, instead of sharing it for the entire inflatable office universe, event office universe, you can do it such that you just share with specific companies. So that is now possible. So keep that in mind. And a lot of times with a shared item, it's going to be something that's already in stock. And so you would click on that item and go down to the advanced section. You'd say, yes, I want to share it, either entire universe or specific companies. And then you search for the company name, and it would have to match. So if you could look up their company name, and it would have to match what they have entered in their IO account. So that would make it a shared item. And then any shared items, you could come in here and find. So these are your shared items that you're sharing. I don't know if I have any. Nope. And then also you can look up your vendor items. Those would be items that maybe other people have shared with you, or items that you created that were vendor items. So they're not necessarily shared or linked with any other inflatable office stuff. You can also do some other, these are kind of preset filters. So we often will give you preset filters so you can just look at certain things in here. And then available vendor items if someone shares stuff with you or with the entire IO universe, you can click that, and then you're going to see these are available items that I could add to my inventory. You can't click them until you add them to your inventory. So you can click there and say add vendor item, and that's how you would do that. So that was kind of a quick little tutorial on shared and vendor items, because we have made a number of changes to that. So anyway, so let's look specifically at a single item here. I'm going to try to pick a good one for us to look at. Let's see. And we'll do I think we can do a tent. Let's do a tent. So this is a tent that we have. You can identify a manufacturer and model number. If you're building a new item from scratch and you start typing in here, we are going to search manufacturer databases, and you can choose, and it's going to help pre-populate things. So that's useful if you want to do that. I'm going to actually close this and go back because it looks funny without a name. Go back here. So that is an option for you that works a little bit different than what we used to do. The other thing that's very different is this category section. So in the case of multi-location or multiple checkout pages where you have different types of checkouts going on, or maybe different websites, this is trying to handle all of that at once. Okay, so most people are just going to have all pages and a category. This little WordPress icon means that there's a page that we can open up. That's the page that's on our website. We can see that if we want. That's the page we're syncing to. If you have multiple WordPress sites, you would see multiple ones of these. Now you can have multiple categories on the same site, same page, same everything. So I can just say all pages. I also want it to be in this category, and then add it if I wanted, which would be silly. The other thing you can do is if you have multiple websites, you would probably have multiple page groups. And so you would choose maybe to do it differently on our wedding section. Maybe we wanted in, it only makes sense to be in one category, tents. But for funsies, we'll say we're going to put it in linens on our weddings page. But you can do those sort of things all right from here. If you have multiple locations, this gets a little more complicated over here, where you're going to see the location is going to be in here too. So you're going to have a lot more options. Okay. And that's how that works. This is an example of an optional field that someone had put in, and they moved it to this section. This was normally not going to be here. But that does show you the power that we've given you with optional fields to put those kind of wherever you're wanting them to be in your workflow. So down here we have our images. You can upload up to 4 of them. Very simple to work it. And you can also delete them. The primary image is the first one. And we will shrink the images that you upload. We keep a large version and a shrunken version. The large version is used, if you're going to be using WordPress with us, a lot of times we'll use that large, higher resolution version for certain things. So description on the item right here, pretty normal. Again, if you're not sure what this means, hover over it. It's going to tell you exactly what it means. I chose this item for a reason, because one of the major changes that we made with this new version is giving you a little more, just making it a little different and hopefully better and easier to work when you're doing an item that's got like a structure, or it's like a parent-child item. So, and I just clicked to open up the parent item because I want to show you what it looks like from there. So this is the parent item. This is the 20 by 20 tent. It is made up of 4 10 by 10s. We have, so a structured item is where you actually define like these pieces and parts make up this other part. And not all parent-child relationship items will do that. Sometimes you have a slide that it's a wet slide and a dry slide. And you need to list them separately, but they need to be related. They're the same exact thing, other than whether the person applies water or not. In those cases, a structure is irrelevant, and they just need to be listed as a child item. To list it as a child item, you would just search for it and choose it, and that would, once you say add and save, that makes it a child item. That's that simple, and you can click it to go to it if you want to know what one it is. If for some reason we were going to make I'm trying to think of a good example. A 10 by 30 tent. We would, and I don't have one in here. I would have to actually make the item, but in that case, we would do a build quantity of three 10 by 10s probably, right? So this wouldn't actually be accurate. We would actually do that on the item. So we would make it would be a 10 by 30 tent. And then when we got in here, we would want to make it a child of the 20 by 20. And then we would set the build quantity to 3. And you can see we give you information about related items. So this is another one that's related to them. You can't change its quantity here because we're not working with that one. We're working with this one. But if I were to click on that, and that's where we were before, we can see that's where we would change the quantity. We give an idea of relationship right here. This is the parent item. This is a sibling item because this is a child and this is a child of the main one. Cousin items are shown here. Those are items that have the same name, but they are a different item, different ID. And so we group those together in most cases when we're displaying to the customer, so that for the customer, it doesn't look like you have two items that are the same listed. It just updates the quantity. So that is kind of a new and improved way of dealing with structure. And I think that we'll continue to see some improvements there. But a lot of what we're doing here with it is, obviously you can't change the quantity here because it's determined by the way we build it and how many we have of the main unit, right? I think what you're going to see is a lot more restrictions so that you can't build things improperly. So I think maybe the next thing would be that we help you understand this a little easier because it's not a simple concept. So, but anyway, that's some of the new stuff there. Pricing area, well, I'll show you extra details is another section. Not super exciting. We have our pricing section down here, and we have a number of changes to the pricing section. If you want to price the item the same as another item, I don't know that this is available, Neil. It might be. I think probably it is, but you can start typing in here and search for another item. I'm just picking items I know that I can find. And so you'd pick one of those, and it would set the price the same. You can also, and when you do that, it says always price the same. So it's actually using the same price information. It's not copying the price information. And so this is something that's useful. Let's say you have a number of different bounce houses, and we want all our bounce houses to be priced exactly the same and always be that way. And that's a very good thing to do because later on, when you decide, well, I want to raise my price by $10 for 2021, you're only changing one field and it affects all your bouncers. So that's a really good way to do it as opposed to having a different price set up for each bouncer. Another way to do it is another way that you can set your price is you can actually search for the price name. There were issues in the previous version of having prices, like just having a ton of price names and then not being able to find them and so forth. But you can do that now. You start typing it in. It's going to search your price names, even if they're not active on any items. They're going to show in the search. A lot of this is going to look similar. Otherwise, we do show you other items using the same price here, so you kind of have all the information you need as you're doing it. So if you're doing a bouncer, you might see, all the other bouncer items listed here. And then this is the standard natural language pricing, trying to make that very simple for you to understand. It's through $35 every day, always, until the end of time. I'm not going to go into detail with that. If you do want to do conditional pricing, you click there. And you can actually come in here then and set a price by these different things. Location is only if you have a multi-location account. Delivery type If I choose delivery type, it looks at my delivery types. I can have different prices for delivery types. One of the things that we have not brought over from the old version is the ability to do a different price on the day of the week, as well as different prices for these. So if you choose day of the week, the next time you try to choose one here, you're not going to get a chance. You see now you're only using day of the week. It's only going to let you do that. But if you were to choose customer type, and you can make a new price on the fly if you need to. We now see day of the week is missing, but we have the other options. So that's going to be improved in the next few months so that you can do that, hopefully. If you are using complicated pricing, unfortunately, you are going to have, like that, where you need that feature, you are going to have to continue to edit your items in the old UI, so you don't lose that, because otherwise it would lose that. So because we can't handle it yet. Part of the reason why we didn't fix that or change that yet is because we're going to make a lot of improvements in this area. So we need a little more time to do that. So packing lists look a little bit different. Packing lists here, you can copy from another item. I think we could do that before if we wanted. I don't even know if we have any packing lists in here. Let's try popcorn machine. Maybe there's something in that one. Nope. So what it would do is it would fill this in here. The other option is just to enter your packing list as you know it to be. We've separated this out, so you no longer have to put in a certain format of text. You can just type it in. You can choose whether it's grouped or not. Grouped is for a vehicle packing list. Grouped items can be collected. So if we're doing things like stakes or sandbags, you might want to group those so you get a total count, and you can just throw all those in. And then you choose the surface types. I think if you don't do any, it considers that to be all. You can also choose all, or you can choose, maybe just pavement and concrete and add. So it used to be that you would pick the surface type and build your list. Now you just put your list of things and you tell us what surface it applies to. So quite a bit different there. Down here in accessories, and we have tried to make this a little simpler as well. So in most cases, when you're doing accessories, you're not going to need a lot of the extra stuff. So we're just letting you pick a name and add it. Okay. If you want to get more advanced, you need more advanced, click that link right there, and you're going to get everything you might want. Maybe more than you want. So again, these are all things that were in the previous version as well. One big difference is that we will show image and description if there is one for this. And then if you want to override it, when this item is connected to this other item, you can do that by uploading a different picture or by putting in a different description. That currently exists, but it isn't always clear that something is already there. This is a bad example because there is no image or description. So let me pick something else. And as you know, you can do, you can also do, add that in. You can do rental items as accessories. So that's a rental item, but I'm going to use it as an accessory to this in this case. And you can see it loaded the picture. Now, I don't have a picture saved specific to this combination. This just loaded the picture that is the default for this to show you that you don't have to put a picture if you're happy with that one. Same with the description. You don't have to put a description if you're happy with that one, but this one obviously doesn't have a description. So, so that's how that works. The upselling, again, we're trying to get away from lists and stuff, although I think we do upselling similar to this, where you pick the items that you might want to show when this 10 by 20 tent is chosen. And I believe that these will now also show on WordPress sites as related items. So that's something nice. And then down here in our advanced section, we have a couple things that are new, or at least better explained. We talked a minute ago about the shared items, We can do entire universe or specific companies. And we have this new little nugget here. If you are building, let's say there's an item you never want to allow discounts on, you can say, I don't ever want to allow discounts on this. And that way, when you're building promotions, you don't necessarily have to define all those things there. So it used to be that you always had to say what items are qualified and didn't. And then you can also say, I will allow admin discounts. So none of my automatic promotions will work, but I can discount it as an admin when I'm working with the lead. Or you can say, I will allow all discounts. So that's those are the major changes to this section. Change some of the words and stuff like that too, just to make it easier to understand for you guys. Let's see, anything else new here? We brought these all together so it's easier to work with them. It takes the same space, but these are all 3 different things. If you're not using these are pretty convenient, and you can reference them in your templates. I know some people will put in like instruction for the operator, or even inspection instructions, like maybe a checklist. And then when their packing lists are generated, it includes these so that your operator can, whoever's taking that job that day will have kind of all the information they need right there. We used to do this when I was running a company for inspections and operator instructions, and it printed out more paper, but we calculated the cost of it was very, very minimal. And what we were able to do then is they would turn the paper in at the end of the day. They would also take pictures of it signed and completed, and they would send that in as attachments to the lead, so that we always had it recorded in Inflatable Office. So if you're not doing that, that's a nice way to keep that information. One of the things that we are working on is we're working through trying to make all this electronic. So we're working on a worker app, an app for basically being in the field and in the warehouse, and that's going to hopefully solve some of those issues with tracking all that information. So this is nothing new. Show the leads. This is something new. We have a reviews section now. So if you're using our standard surveys, people can rate the items. They can also leave little reviews. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. And those will come in on the surveys, on the leads. But now we also collect those underneath the rental item. And I think we're starting to pull that information as well when it comes to the WordPress websites. So, this kind of just shows you really quickly what people are thinking of that item. So that's a pretty useful section as well. And then we also have our log down here. This WordPress information is just showing you information about, and I don't know that this is commonly, if this would be, this could just be demo account stuff, but when we do show the WordPress stuff, that's showing when we're syncing, what we're syncing to, stuff like that. And then you can obviously search the log and export the log as well. So rentals section always goes a little bit faster. So we have a little bit of extra time at the end of this one. Obviously, would like to take questions on the rentals section first. But after that, we can discuss anything you guys want to discuss. So just raise your hand or unmute yourself, and we can discuss it. And while we're doing that, I'm gonna look. Oh yeah, you know what? I forgot a couple things here. We talked about reports being something that applied to more than just leads anymore. And here's another example. You can now set up a report. So if we were to go to, clear this, I'll show you in reports. And reports is something we're going to cover in the next session. So stick around for that one. This is the only time we're going to cover reports. The following training day that we do, we will not be doing reports again. But if we were to do a report here, we can choose the report type. It used to always be leads. Now we can do rentals as well. And then when you're doing a rental report, you want to do a column that starts with rentals. Those are going to be the ones that you're going to want to choose from. So all of those options. Let's close this. We'll go back here. Oops, didn't want to go there. So once we have rental reports, and I didn't make one, but we would be able to choose it and then see, that information in here. Again, we could print, we could export it. A lot of times, I know you guys are looking at just kind of cleaning up your rental database. And so one of the things that you can do is come in here and generate the reports with the information that you need and export them to Excel, and then go through and check everything and highlight the ones that you might need to come back in here and make changes to. So we're trying to, in the past, we've taken requests and then exported them for you. We're trying to get to a point, I know we're not quite there yet because we don't have all the columns in the report that you might want, but we're trying to get to a spot where you can do that. So we're working that way. The other thing I wanted to show you was importing. So if for some reason you wanted to do an import of some new items you collected, maybe, or maybe you had some company that you purchased and they used a different software. If you don't want our help doing it, we allow you to do it on your own now. There's a number of things you can import. Inventory is one of them. Customers, vendors, and venues are the others. These would probably be like customers. Maybe you have another way you're collecting leads. So that's a pretty common one to use that to import your customers. Maybe you have a data like a Excel spreadsheet of vendors or venues. Anyway, you can choose these things and then select your file, and it needs to be a CSV file. And we will actually, I wish I had a good example of this. We will bring in that file and we will let you map the fields. So you'll be able to say, and we'll try to identify them for you, but you'll be able to say stuff like, okay, I want name field to, or L name to be the last name of the customer or whatever. And you're able to set this up and I think even do a few operations like split columns a little if you want. So if it's like a name column, you can split it into first and last name. I think there's some different tools like that we give you to do some of those things. And then when you save this, later on, we have a cron job that runs, like an automatic job that will run, and it will try to bring that information in for you. So so that's another way to kind of work with rentals. Now, we're not to the point where we're letting you export your rental database, make the changes in Excel, and then import it. I know probably some of you got excited about that. And we're not there yet. That's something we're working toward. There's a few things that make that very difficult to do. One of them being, the primary reason being like prices, because prices are dependent upon time. It's hard to have one single cell in that spreadsheet that defines that. So just kind of working through some of those things to come up with a way for you guys to do those sort of things. So anyway, Cody did ask that I kind of go through this. I see that somebody had just asked about reports moving. I believe that all your reports will be available. I think that possibly your filters, you may need to request that that we convert them for you. But I believe your reports will be available immediately as you log into this new system. Some of your filters may need converted. So if you're missing some of those things, just contact us about them. But Cody asked that I mention this sidebar again. Quick way to get to whatever you're looking for as you're working through the rentals is just to click. Just click where you want to go. And it's very fast. There's just so much information that we're trying to let you edit and work with that it's just covering a lot of real estate. And since we've gotten away from that tab system and we're trying to put it all on one page for you, we give you this navigation menu over here so you can quickly just get to whatever you're looking for. Okay, I realize I'm about 15 minutes done about 15 minutes before I normally finish for these sessions. But I want to use that time for you guys to ask questions and discuss with me anything about rentals to start with. And if we're not getting any rental discussion, feel free to bring up anything else about the new user interface. All right.
Hi, Tim. Can you hear me? It's Leah Weinreb.
I can. Hi, Leah.
Okay, great. Hi. I was wondering, so can you just show, let's say we get, I don't know, 15 new items, and we want to import them through this thing that you just talked about, the like a CSV file. Can you just walk us through that?
Yeah, let me try to do that. First of all, let me see if I can do an export of what I got, just so that I have something that I can work with to show you how the import works. So give me 1 second. So I just did an export. It probably wasn't visible to you, but now I'm going to go ahead and select that file. Right there it is. Okay, so here's a file that I'm wanting to do an import on. So we have a number of example rows that we show you. You can see 8 rows. If I want to see more, I click, I can see more or less. And we try to match up things as best we can. You can see that we matched category to category, name to name. So quantity, we'll want to match that to that. Consumable, well, we don't really want to do that one. We're going to leave that note not matched. We're not going to import that row, and so forth. So you can go through and pick space required. I don't know if maybe that's dimensions. Who knows? But that's what you would do as you're setting up your file to import. Now, there's a table editor here that gives you even more ability to adjust things. So we could take a column here, and I don't know what a good one would be. I'm going to pick name. So if we want to split a column, let's pretend that this is customer name, and we might want to have the left column be like first name, and then the right column we would want to be last name. And then we would want a space to be the delimiter. So when we encounter a space, we know everything on the left of that is the first name. Everything on the right of that space would be the last name. So that's a way that you can split things up. It's possible that you would have, other delimiters in there. I would say ideally you do that work before you export your data from whatever you're exporting, or do it in Excel or another editor. But we tried to give you a couple tools in the case you want to do it inside of our system. We also offer the ability to merge columns. So if I was going the other way and I just wanted to call it name, I might come in here and say, like, I want the name and the quantity to be merged into the name. I want a space between them or whatever. So that's an option too. And you would actually click these and do it, and they would actually operate on this table up here, so you could see what they're going to do. Okay. And then we can duplicate a column. So let's say we were merging. Let's say we had city, state, and we wanted to break it into city and state. Maybe there would be a reason to duplicate the column and have one that's city, state, and one that's just city. So that would be an example where you might want to duplicate a column. You would just pick the column and rename the new column. And then you would probably, after doing that, do maybe another operation on it. And then we can also delete a column, which isn't necessary. So in the case of consumable, I could delete that one. I'm not using it here, but maybe I just delete it because I don't want it visible as I'm doing this. It's not going to do anything with that column because I'm not using it. I haven't selected anything. I think that's how it works. I'm pretty sure you don't have to delete columns that you're not mapping. So does that answer your question on how to do that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, then how do you actually just bring it in? Is it just in?
Yeah. So what you're going to do is click save. And I'm not going to do that in, well, no, I don't want to do that in this one. But you're going to click save, and it's going to be now a list in this item. So it's going to have an import list here. It'll say, you know, whatever you named whatever the file name was, whatever information you put in about it, it'll show a status. And so as soon as I do it, it's going to show a status of like queued or processing or something like that. When our automatic job runs, it's going to go out and look for all those ones that you want to import, and it's going to bring them in, and then it's going to change that status to completed, or maybe there was an error, so it would show you that information. And that's how it works. And I'm not sure how often that job runs. Take a look real quick to see. So it looks like it runs every 5 minutes. So it's not going to take long for it to import it. You know, max time would probably be about 5 minutes.
And photos, would we then just have to import, like we'd have to still do photos one by one, or?
Yeah, we don't have a way to import the photos right now. It's possible that we'll come up with that. Like it's going to be a difficult thing anyway. If you think of like building a spreadsheet, you can sometimes paste a photo into a spreadsheet, but what really are you getting? Like what quality are you getting in that? You know, if you could put a link to the photo at that point, you know, it might be easier just to come in and do it inside of Inflatable Office. So, you know, if there was a link to the photo, we potentially could go out and get it and copy it. But we don't have any of that set up yet. So.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I just wanted to know. Okay. I also have another question. It's not having to do with inventory.
Sure.
Okay, so it has to do with events in the event tab. When I try to go, yeah, so sometimes when I want to select the dates of you know, like narrow down, for some reason, when I click on that seems to be very low on my screen, and I don't always see the full screen. I'm not sure why.
So it's getting cut off on your screen?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'll have to make a note of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? I'll kind of go to the chat here and see if I can discuss anything that has been going on in the chat.
Speaking of cutting off, I've just noticed that on the like when I'm in a lead and I go to the contract and I go to add a different contract, the contract name seems to cut off. So for example, if I have event rentals delivery contract, as soon as I add the contract, it only shows like event rental, and it doesn't show me like the full name of the contract.
Yeah, I believe that's a character limit that we have. I'll have to look and see if we can extend that.
Okay, thanks.
All right, here, let's see what's going on in the chat. If anybody has another question, just speak up. Looks like someone had a question about Google Calendar. I could show you a little bit about Google Calendar. I don't know if any of you, I'm sure some of you use this. It's a very popular. Grant permission to your calendar. We only allow you to grant permission to one Google account, but once you get it in a single Google account, you can share it to anybody else's Google account. So that's how you'd want to do that. Once you grant permission, you'll see a list of your calendars in here. And then you can set all these different things to determine how you want it to go into your Google Calendar. A lot of people are just doing, you know, something simple like this, but we've really extended the abilities of this by giving you the option to do filters. So if you wanted to, you could say, I want all of my linen stuff to go on a linen calendar now. And you would make a linen filter. And that filter, you would say include anything in that filter. And it would not include anything not in that filter. And then you could maybe set certain things in here that were specific to linens, and it would go into your linen Google Calendar, and then you could share your linen Google Calendar with whoever's running your linen department, maybe, and you would want to share it to to their Google account. That way, if they ended up leaving the company, you just stop that share. So that's a really good way to do it. So just so you know, that's something new in Google Calendar, and we do go through a little bit of that in here. This is another help doc that we'll probably be making some improvements on, and continuing to improve these help docs as people ask questions and stuff. So if you read it one time and you realize, oh, this isn't telling me what I need to know, look back once in a while when you need to know something, because it may be improved. So. See, somebody asked about upselling on the inventory. And that is, if you look on this menu over here, it's one of the menu items, upselling. And you would just type in and search for what you wanted and add it. So what that's going to do is when we're displaying a quote, or if you want to think about it as the cart checkout page, we have some algorithms that will pull in items that we would want to offer to the customer to maybe upsell a little bit. And so we can't always pull all the items in that you're listing here, because they could have multiple items with multiple items that you want to upsell, and it can get really long. But we will take, I think, up to 3 items, and we try to calculate like the most common ones, or the ones that the customer would most likely want to book. And our upselling does look at availability as well, so that we're not trying to upsell them something that isn't actually available. Yeah, someone else had asked about some, let's see here. I'm going to show you. We can do some additional things with items now in this drop-down list that we had to do for you previously. So you can convert an accessory to a rental item by just choosing that. Now, if we look at rental items, I think we have the option to go the other way as well. Maybe not. With certain ones, maybe. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So if it's a structured item, I think it's not going to let us do some of those things. But if it's not a structured item, like this table, it's a simple item, we can convert it to an accessory. So that's right there in that drop down. And we'll give you, let's see if this is one of them. Nope. There are times when we'll give you prompts that will give you basically discuss more information about what you're trying to do. So let's see if I do add child item. Yeah. So if I do add child item here, we're going to give you a little bit of information about that, and you would say, okay, well, what's the item what's the parent? We want to know what the parent is so we can add it to the right item. So you might type that in, find the parent, and say, like, add this child item. That's the parent. So. Any other questions? I see somebody asked about when the transition would occur. We are shooting for April 1st. I think it's kind of a funny day to do it on April Fool's Day. So I don't know, maybe that'll go horribly wrong and none of us will be laughing. Who knows? But that was kind of the goal, April 1st. I'm trying to do it before everybody gets really busy. If we don't make a goal, we'll never end up getting there. I understand that there's going to be maybe certain things that come up that will continue to maintain the old one for a little bit longer. I think it's really in your best interest to convert as soon as you can, because that version is not going to be around forever, and we would like to stop supporting it because it enables us to focus entirely on this version, which helps us to do a better job doing things, building the code and building a product and a service for you. It reduces the strain on our support team of having to work through both of them. So our goal really is to convert as soon as possible. We've been running this side by side for a year and a half, maybe a year and 3 months, and we would like to stop doing that. It's possible that we'll leave a few people access to the old UI on a case-by-case basis, and that would primarily be in cases where we do not have an answer yet for something that you need to do. And it would have to be something that just isn't possible in the new UI for the most part. Just because you don't like it is probably not going to be a good option. So, but we're not going to be very militant about it. And even right now, as you try to convert over, you have the ability to go backward to the old UI and work through it as well. We're trying to make this as easy and painless as possible for you. Yeah, someone had asked about Google reviews and surveys, and we actually have somebody on here today who gave us a glowing review about this. So you already know that we do reviews, and we have a video for it, and Cody just posted, but I'll go over it a little bit as well. We've always done reviews for you through that automated email. I think it's called Customer Thank You, and we have like an internal review system. Those reviews come into here, and when they come in, they're set not to be active, and then you come in and review them, and you make them active or not. And this is kind of different than the old system. I think the old system, they didn't actually come into the reviews until you brought them in. Slightly different. And then you can make adjustments if you need to and save them. And then those reviews would display on your website, and the code is listed. Well, it isn't listed here. It should be listed here. We'll have to add it. But that code would then, you could paste that code in your website, and then it would bring those reviews in for you. If you're doing WordPress with us, we set that up for you. So, well, the new thing, as we realized that it wasn't possible for us to push reviews into Google or Facebook or whatever. So what we had to do, and this is a really good example of how to find what you're looking for, right there in general preferences, that's where I'm looking. So if we come to general preferences and go to reviews, what we're enabling you to do is kind of collect reviews in multiple places at once. So Google doesn't let people put reviews into their system because they want to make sure they're legitimate. So we're not allowed to do that. So what you have to do is you just have to direct people to Google to complete reviews. We think it's still very important to do the internal reviews as well. So when you set this up, this is how I'd recommend doing it. I would say choose your internal one first, or as one of the items, and give it a weight. A weight is just a way of saying this is how often compared to the other items I'm going to list in here that I want it to be chosen as a review option for customers. And I'm going to say a minimum star rating of 4. And then I could do one called Google, and I could do my Google link, which I don't have one, but it's going to complain if I don't put a real link in there. And I might say I want to get more stuff to go through Google. In fact, I want it to be twice as much. So I'm going to put a 2 in there. That's twice as much. Twice as many times it's going to go that way. And I'm going to do a 4 there. Okay. And then maybe I'd do another one for Facebook. Okay. And maybe I'd weight it the same as Google. So it's twice as much as the satisfaction survey, but it would occur, equally as much as Google. So I could do that. So anything that doesn't hit the star rating that you want, it's going to direct to this internal survey, which that's actually not a real address to it. That's just something that looks nice. So we're already going to collect the bad reviews. The reason why I put this up here is because we also want to collect a few good reviews, right? So we can make sure those are in our system as well. So you do have to put that in if you want to get a few good reviews. Otherwise, you're only going to get, if I have it like this, I'm just going to get Google reviews. So how do we know what their minimum rating is and how to direct them? Well, that you can do if you go to the email center. In our thank you email, and this is an old one, and so it might load like this for you as well. You would want to come in here and say load in the default template. So here's the new template that we send out. Okay, and you can make adjustments to it as you want. But if I hover over these, this is how we get the star rating. So when they get this email, they'll click one of these. And when they click one of these, it's going to then take them to our system. It's going to say, okay, is this a high enough review that we want to send it to Google or Facebook or not? Or should we send them on to the internal system to where we can, kind of handle their dissatisfaction without letting the world know? So this is a super great feature that everybody should be using. It's so important to have good reviews on Google and Facebook. You don't want bad reviews there, but you want to get people to review you, right? You want to get good ones there. You want to get a high number of reviews. So if you're not doing this, you need to do this. Watch that video that Cody sent you, and the chat, and it'll tell you even more about this. But I definitely recommend doing this. Okay, the last one I'm going to take here is about surveys. So someone had commented that I just want to know a little bit more about editing surveys because it's difficult to do it. And I would agree. The surveys are complicated. Okay, so when I go to the survey area, surveys and training, I'm going to see all my surveys, all my trainings right here. If I wanted to edit a survey or training, especially if I'm doing like a multi-location account or something like that, I can click it and make adjustments to it, right? That's a preset one. You can't change that. But here is one that I made. I can change if it's a survey or a training, or I can delete it, right? So if you want to actually edit the content in it, you would click on that survey over here and filter it. So we're just looking at that question. Now we're just looking at questions for that survey. And these are all your questions. Here is our order right here. So you can adjust your order. You can see that some questions are special and we're not allowed to delete them. Now we can do that for you if you want, but we just want to be able to explain to you what features you're going to lose if you do that, because they are special questions. So, if I were to click on a survey question, this is considered a type of choice matrix, okay, where we can do, on a rating from 5 to 1, how'd the event go, and was the customer happy? Okay, and we can alter that. We can add another row and say, will you book again, or whatever. So this is going to present this kind of in this format where they are going to go through and enter in, what they want it to be. Now, this makes zero sense for me to click these right now unless I'm playing like tic-tac-toe or something, which may be a new use for this. But this is how you would edit a survey question. Also, if you were going to add a question, it's similar, where you can have 2 different lines of your question or text that you want to display. And we give you the different types that you can do. A short answer, meaning that, it's just an input box like this. A long answer, it's a big input box. We want to just display content. So it's not really a question, but we want to show them something. Maybe it's a video or some other information. And you can put that all in here as HTML. We can do a single choice question. And you would say something like yes, and then add another choice that's no, and they could do that. Or you could change that to multiple choice. So these change from radio buttons to check boxes. And then again, back to the choice matrix where we just showed you. So those are the different survey questions we have available right now. In the case that you're doing a training instead of a survey, it actually does matter that you choose what it is, that is the right answer. Now, in the case of a training, we reduce the number of things you can have here. I think we only give you a couple options, and it might just be single choice or multiple choice. I can't remember. But that is how you use the surveys. If you have other follow-up questions to that, I can answer those. If not, I'm going to take a little break here, and I will be back at 3 o'clock. Thanks, guys.